Well, welcome. I am so glad you could join me today because my guest is Colleen Kochannek. Colleen is a corporate refugee turned entrepreneur who, at the age of 50, was laid off. In 2018, after 20 years of marriage, her husband passed away and she once again found herself having to recreate who she was. The next year, she launched a business to help women from the typewriter generation launch their own online businesses. 3 years later, she was dealt yet another loss when her only sibling or sister died at the age of 58. Well, even with all of these losses, her commitment to helping women over 50 start their own businesses, doing something they love, remains strong and unwavering. Colleen, welcome. It is such a pleasure to see you again and have some time to talk with you about a wonderful new program you've created, which is especially designed for those of us in midlife. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I am absolutely thrilled to be here. I love talking about this.
When I read your email that told me about the program, I literally stopped in my tracks and I thought, oh my gosh, this is what I need. And I imagine it's what a lot of other women need. But before we get into that program, could you share with our viewers your personal career path and what specifically made you decide to work with midlife women? And thank you so much for making that change, by the way.
Absolutely. So I was laid off in 2017 at the age of 50 alongside like 10,000 people. It was a global layoff in an industry. So I knew that it was a saturated job market and I was never going to find an equivalent job. So I had always heard about, oh, start an online business. Like that's what all the cool kids are doing. So I'm like, I will do that too. And I'm like, how hard can it be? Right. And then, of course, day two, I'm like, oh, I have no idea what I'm doing. So I jumped in, started figuring it out. And in the process of that, I realized everybody in the space was much younger and coming from that perspective. And there were huge information gaps. And I realized as a digital immigrant, which is an actual term we use in technology, we approach technology differently and we just need to learn it differently. And so I spotted that gap and thought, well, gosh, I have figured this out. I can help, women over 50 get into this digital space. One, we're the most qualified to be here because we have so much experience, but the tech and digital side seemed to be a bit of a mystery that nobody was helping with. So I jumped in on that. That's how I came to that.
I must say, I was extremely fortunate to be part of one of your early midlife solo entrepreneur membership groups. And in fact, I never would have launched my YouTube channel without your help. I remember actually being on a call with you or an email where I had to do one more thing to actually get my YouTube channel up and running, and I could not for the life of me figure out how to do it. And you immediately were able to tell me exactly what I needed to do, and it was amazing. So I'll always be extremely grateful for your advice and your support and encouragement, and also your patience in helping so many of us, including me, who are really challenged by technology. I still am, but at least now I feel a little bit more comfortable with it. And I've learned that I can figure out how to do some things. And you really helped me on that path. So I'm very grateful. So, can you tell us about your first ventures into working with midlife women and where that path has led you now?
So I actually jumped in and created an online magazine for my little town in Florida, which is where I realized I didn't know anything about this digital business space and realized there was a gap in the market. And friends started asking me, oh, how did you do that? How did you do that? And I'm like, I can help other women do that because I've worked in technology, I've worked in technology training, and I see this gap. And the truth is, we're qualified in the topics we want to do online. It's the tech part that is different. We approach technology differently. We don't see the buttons as easily. I always tell the story of, where's the button? Where's the button? I was in a group. They said, oh, do Facebook Live. It's good for marketing. I'm like, and all these kids came back and said, I did my first Facebook Live. And I was like, where's the button? Like, where's the button? Like, I will do this. And it dawned on me then that we really don't where our eyes and our brains aren't trained to look at technology in the same way as younger people who've never not known technology. So I wanted to come in the space and be realistic on that measure about the technology that A, it's totally doable. B, the fact that it takes a little bit more for you to figure out, not a problem. It's just, it's how our brains are wired. Technology came to us during our lifetime. We've had to learn it. Whereas in younger people, I always joke, we were born like teething on our mom's car keys. Kids today are born like on their mom's iPad. So it's like a really different reality. And I saw people even hesitating to try. I'm like, oh no, we're going to get you in the digital business space because this part is just logistics and the rest of it is totally like where you belong. So that's how I came to it. And I've just stuck with it for about 7 years. And I've had different types of businesses. I've had the online membership you mentioned. I've had some kind of high ticket, high touch coaching. I've done low ticket products. So I've really kind of seen the variety of what's possible out there. And I've come back and landed on really simple digital products as the way to go.
You were so right on about how different our approach is, having come from the generation we've come from. Well, I want to mention the fact that on February 24th, I received an email from you about a new program that you've created. And as I mentioned, it just sort of knocked my socks off because you wrote, and I just want to quote here because I thought it was such a brilliant open. You said, "Now, I'm no Indiana Jones, but I did step out of my comfort zone and try something completely new last Saturday. You developed what you're calling now a micro adventure plan. So can you please share with us what exactly a micro adventure is and what your first micro adventure was?"
Yes. So micro adventures are just that. They are tiny little step out of your comfort zone activities that you can do as a point of interest, but don't require a lot of commitment. I happen to be very commitment averse. So I didn't want to get anything on my calendar that I immediately regretted or was like dreading coming up. So I'm like, I'm going to come into 2025. By the end of this year, I want at least 6 interesting things that I have done, tried, pursued, whatever that I can talk about and just kind of have, in the books, so to speak. And so I came up with this idea of micro. The criteria had to be something I've never done before and very low commitment, meaning it's a Saturday afternoon for a couple hours. It wasn't like a year-long program or anything like that, just to kind of ease my way back into it. And I said, I'll do one every other month. And so the first one that came up was geocaching. And that was my Indiana Jones moment. I went geocaching, which is like a GPS technology inspired treasure hunt. And I did it at a local park, 10 minutes from my house. It was a ton of fun. Definitely more physically, not grueling. It was more physically taxing than I anticipated because we were out there in the snow and whatnot with our phones looking for these hidden treasures. And it was a lot of fun. It was just interesting.
So that was an interesting first adventure. And you said every other month. Do you have some others now planned that you can share with us?
Yes. So I sat down and made a huge list of possibilities, which I can talk about in a second, that are in this planner that I put together. And I just started kind of calendarizing them, looking at like which dates worked, that kind of thing. So I have 2 more micro adventures in the books ready to go. One is archery that I'm going to try here in a couple weeks, again, at a local recreation center. And then one is a CPR training, which I don't know if that qualifies as micro adventure, but something I've not done before and thought, well, I should probably know CPR. So
Sure.
I'm going to take a CPR class, like at the local city hall kind of thing.
Well, I'm just fascinated by the research that must have been involved in your creating these and finding resources. And as you mentioned, your program actually includes a planner that you created and also resources for how you find these kinds of adventures, right?
Yes. Yeah, that was the hardest part for me, was where, you say, oh, I'm going to go do this, but where do you even look for ideas? So I
Yeah.
just sat down and I used AI to help me also. I used ChatGPT to help me organize some of these and figure out where are possible resources that I can even look for ideas. And it included, the local parks and recreation center, your local county, your local continuing education programs through community colleges, places like that. So once I had a list of resources, I literally just went to them and started looking at their calendars and kind of writing out possibilities. Like it was not scientific at all. The only criteria was something I haven't done or someplace I haven't been. And then I marked down some details like I almost signed up for adult baton twirling. I'm not going to lie,
I
because,
love
but it
it.
was a little cheating because I had done that like when I was 7 years old. But I'm like, well, that's long enough ago that I haven't done it. But
Sure.
that turned out to be like 6 Saturdays. I'm like, that's commitment, and I'm not ready for that yet.
Mhm.
So I just kind of marked out the details and came up with a huge list of where you even look for ideas, which has been incredibly helpful. Just making a big list in what I can find now. And then I used AI, ChatGPT, to help me kind of calendarize them and decipher them by categories and what it thought might be helpful or useful or fun for me. And I include that in the planner, an entire instructions how to use ChatGPT if you've never used it before, and the prompts to get to help you figure out all the details as well.
Can you tell us, Colleen, exactly what's included in the package that you get?
Yes.
You mentioned resources and what else?
Yeah, so I will work backwards. So ChatGPT, AI inspired prompts to help you find your local ideas. I did a curated list of 90 plus potential micro adventures just to maybe spark your imagination.
Wow,
I always love
90.
examples. I always love
Yeah.
examples of like, oh, would I do that? Would I not do that? So I pulled that together. I pulled together the resource list. I don't know how many are on there, but different places to find your local micro adventures, and some of them are online, some of them are social media based, some of them are government based, local based kind of thing. So I did that. And then I created an actual planner for you to go in and put out all of your ideas, possibilities of micro adventures, and detail them by date. If there's a cost associated with them, anything prep you would need to do, just to get it all in black and white so you can kind of start to, put them together by the calendar. And then I started including prompts because one of the things that I've learned about these micro adventures, I took a program called The Science of Wellbeing by Lauren Santos through Coursera. And one of the things they talk about is this idea of having events or activities that you anticipate and look forward to and have to plan and account for, and just something to be accountable to in your life that you're looking forward to. And one of the things she talks about is this idea of the anticipation of the event, but also you go do the event, of course. And then afterwards, I've included prompts for reflection about what you enjoyed about the event, what you didn't enjoy, whatever it is, right? Because you probably won't love everything that you do. And then I also included an end of year kind of review because I knew I wanted to get to the end of 2025 and be able to look and say, oh, I did some cool things this year and it was interesting. Or be able to say like, oh, that was a bust. Didn't like that. Don't need to do that again. So that's all included in the planner.
We were talking before we actually started recording, and you mentioned that one of the other fun things about this is that even if you don't like the event, or even if you do like the micro adventure, it gives you something great to talk about with people.
Yes. I mean, I've already told so many stories about my geocaching adventure. Like, we only found 3 out of the 10 geocaches, my team. Somebody else found like 9 of them. I'm like, what? Like, it's just fun to talk about, like, and kind of reflect on. And you get to make connections, but they're also not permanent connections. So that if it turns out to be something that's not, it's not your vibe or whatever, no harm, right? It was a couple hours on a Saturday afternoon, and off you go.
And you've mentioned that sharing micro adventures with others is part of the fun instead of just going it alone. What are some of the ways that we can share our micro adventures?
Yes. So I talk about this in the planner as well. I think it's important to share, maybe obviously with your local, your friends and family, but social media. Can you get on social media and just talk about how, you just did this unusual thing or cool thing or unusual to you thing? I did that with geocaching in my social media accounts, and so many people came out like, oh my gosh, we love geocaching. And I'm like, I didn't even know it was a thing before. And now there's kind of like this connection, like another connection point. So
Sure.
I think, and just being able to tell the stories about it. I mean, I was telling a girlfriend, like, I did not have the right shoes. I didn't have the right shoes for the adventure. Like everybody came in their big snow boots and all. I'm like, I had my cute boots on. I did not have the right boots on, but it's just fun, something of interest and new to talk about.
Well, when I got your email, I have to say I had to look up what geocaching was. I had never heard of that. So that was sort of fun just to find out what the heck that involved.
Yeah, it was actually fun learning about it. It just started back like in 2002. GPS prior to 2002 was basically locked down and encrypted. And I think it was President Clinton unencrypted it, which opened up way up for GPS, maps, all of these things. And within 2 days of that, there was some techno geek somewhere. He was out in Seattle, created a geocache website where he would hide things and people go find them via GPS.
Huh.
And it went from there. So I didn't realize GPS was like that new. I don't know.
No. Yeah, it feels like it's been around forever. That's
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah, yeah.
Well, tell us a little bit more about how we access this program. It sounds like you've put in so much wonderful work in creating all of this. So it's a step-by-step online process that we can access for ideas, for resources, as a planner. And tell us a little bit more about how we can find
Yeah.
out about it.
Yeah. So first I want to say it is like an example of a very simple digital product that anybody could create based on an interest that you have or something that you're doing. Because what I've done simply is documented this entire process, and people obviously value that because I've curated the experience for them. They don't have to go try to figure out all of the resources and all those things. So I pulled it together in a digital package. It's all available by PDF on my Stan store. You can offer the link I think you have a link for it there.
Yeah.
And in essence, once you purchase it, you get access to this PDF and you can download all the materials and it's yours to use. You get access to all of the materials instantly, and you have PDF, or you can make a copy of it into your own Google Drive if you don't want to download and print it out. I'm a paper and pen kind of gal still, so I like to print things out. And that's how you access it. Is super easy. Super easy. You click a link and go.
That is great. And I will include a link for the micro adventure program and planner that you just talked about in the description box below. So you can check it out there. And I will also pin a comment so you can access it there if you don't want to head into the description box. And I have already purchased the program. I can't wait to jump into it and do it. I was telling Colleen before we got started that one of the most fun things that I've done in a long time was participating in a tour that our local history center had of Summit Avenue in St. Paul, which is an avenue that has the most historical mansions of any place in the country. And I'd always wanted to tour it. And without knowing it, I was doing a micro adventure because I got in touch with the History Center, found out about a tour that I could take, and my daughter and I did it. And I still to this day look back on it and think of how much fun it was and how enjoyable it was. What a beautiful day, how many interesting people we met. It's just great to get out of our comfort zones a little bit.
I think it's interesting too. I am not one of these people that has an obsession with one thing or a passion for one thing. We keep hearing about that from, online. I'm like, my passion is just curiosity. I want to try this. I want to try that. And this is a great way to do that with, minimal commitment, but a lot of fun and interest as well.
Also, could you share with us, Colleen, exactly what you are doing now that is available if we have any viewers out there who are interested in starting their own business? What kinds of resources and programs are you offering currently?
Yes, I have an online membership program called the Third Act Collective, which is online business school for women over 50, as well as a community-based resource. So it's really incredible. We get together once a week via Zoom, and the women span all kinds of career paths. We have nurses and teachers and private chefs, and it's a really fascinating bunch of people, and they're all creating different types of digital businesses, but they're all creating digital businesses, meaning the product they create is created online and delivered online. So it's been really fascinating, but it's a step-by-step resources of if you're starting from scratch, where you even begin, how you do each of the steps. And then of course you have the coaching along the way as well, which I think is so important to be able to get your questions answered. And then I also have a newsletter called Third Act Field Notes, which are, I talk about making money online, but I'm also talking about this idea of building a new life and starting over, kind of more the lifestyle type activities, which is where the micro adventure came forward with. So I talk about that. I'm writing what I call the Third Act Handbook, which remember the old Girl Scout guides, like you
Oh,
would be in a
yeah,
Girl Scout and they would like
sure.
tell you exactly what you need to do. And I'm like, we don't have that for this third act. Like we're living so darn long. We have like this chance of this huge long life, but nobody tells us what to do because there's no script for it yet. So I'm pulling that together, but available right now. I have my online membership and my newsletter. So the Third Act Collective and Third Act Field Notes.
And can you provide some links so we can access the newsletter
Absolutely.
and your course?
Yes.
That would be
I will
great.
send you those links. Yeah.
Perfect. And boy, once you get that handbook put together, is that going to be an online resource as well?
It's going to be a digital product as well. And inside of my Third Act Collective business membership, I have several products I might pull out and sell separately. One of which that has been very popular is what I'm calling the Big Book of You. That's this series of inventories that I created for myself to like just figure out like who the heck am I now? Like at this stage in life, I think we often forget who we are. Like we've put a lot of things on the back burner. We've been busy adulting, doing all the adulting things.
Yeah.
And then you get to this point like, well, who am I now? So it's kind of a series of inventories that goes through different parts of your life just to kind of remember and rediscover what it is you love to do, what it is you're good at. And it goes from what people ask you to do all the way to your environment, like what have you surrounded yourself by. And then it goes through a series of exercises that I call mashup exercises that help you pull different interests together, perhaps to maybe use that to formulate your digital product business, because anything goes in this digital world, but that can be overwhelming as well, just to find like what your idea is that you'd want to make money with. So I use that as a way to do that. So that's inside the Third Act Collective. So yeah,
That
but everything
sounds
will be digital. Everything will be
interesting.
digital.
Yeah, I am excited about that handbook. I can't wait to see you
It's
roll
been
that out.
fun. It's getting into things like mindset and some big questions. Like I've noticed, I've had this like confidence erosion, and I'm like, what? And I talk to women, I'm like, that seems to happen a lot. How do you get that back? Shifting your mindset around this idea of getting out of a rut and opening your mind to new possibilities to figure out what's around the corner. I think it's really easy to get stuck in our bubble along the way. So we have to kind of poke holes in that. So I think that's where I'm touching on a lot of the different kind of lifestyle and mindset areas.
Is there anything we have not touched on before we conclude that you'd like to mention?
I don't think so, other than you are such an inspiring person, how you have built your business. I think you are like the poster woman for digital business with older women. I think it's fabulous.
Oh, you are so sweet. Thank you so much. And this is a mutual admiration here because I learned so much from our time together, and I'm so grateful for that, Colleen. And I thank you so much for taking time out of your day today to be with us. And as I mentioned, links to all the things that we've been talking about are included in the description box below and also in the pinned comments. So be sure to check those out if you're interested in exploring some of these really intriguing things that Colleen has put together for us. Thank you, Colleen. I look forward
Thank
to
you.
staying in touch.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right. Bye-bye.